Alright, so coming to the fourth and final intro video. I know I was going to do mantra, but yeah, mantra is too slow. I get frustrated trying to do mantra. But okay, so this is Octane, right? So this is the fourth and the final intro video that I'm going to do. Okay, so out of all the four that I have seen so far, or that I'm showing so far, the Octane setup is probably the most cumbersome if you go via the standard method, or like the absolute basic way to do it. So the way it works is it's a two-step process, which is you need a ROP network and type in Octane and take Octane custom. Okay. And then you need a shop network and need to build up what is called as a render target. Like if you come into the ROPNet, it's looking for something called as a render target. Okay, now there is a ready-made render target, but I'll also show you how to build your own, because there are advantages to it. Okay, usually you don't need to, because I'll show you a better way to do it. But yeah, if you want, you can go this way if you want more flexibility. Okay, so the way it works is once you've created a shopnet, type in Octane and take an Octane network, and let's call this render, and delete this and type in render. So you'll get something called out render target, and it needs like a whole bunch of these things to be connected, because they control a variety of things. So this will give you camera controls for taking an environment like daylight or HDR. You have imager controls for like saturation and exposure and gamma. Then you have basic render controls, and then you have post-processing. So you need at least these 5. So the way it works is just type in camera and take thin lens, which is the standard camera. So just plug that in. Okay, I'll collapse this. Just make sure in the camera you turn off autofocus, because otherwise it can be irritating. Okay, then type in environment and we'll take a environment texture. Okay, so we can plug that in, and then I can take an imager. So you'll get RT imager. So plug that into imager. Then take a kernel. So kernel is how you're going to render it. Okay, and you get a variety of them. But the one that you want to use standard is called path tracing. So just take path tracing. And then you have post processing. So we'll type post processing. There you go. And finally, you also get something called as a camera environment, which is if you want to override what you're seeing in the viewport, you can, or in the render, you can do that. Okay, so we can just duplicate this and plug this in there into camera environment. Okay, and once you've done this, come back to your ROPNet and pick that up. So we can come into our shopnet and pick render. And now you are, ready to go. Okay, so now what you can do is we can take a material network, and I can create a couple of materials. So I'll just take a universal material, which is sort of like the Arnold shader. So I'll call this as base, and we'll call this as model. Okay, so I can just drag and drop this, and that's pretty much it. So if you've done this much, we can just click on the IPR, like open up the Octane shelf and just click on IPR. The first time you click it, it takes a little bit of time to start. Yeah, and there you go. So you have your IPR. Okay, now this is the long way to do it. Okay, setting up your render. Now, one thing you can do, which I've done previously, is you can take both of these and you can drop them on a shelf. Like you can create a new shelf, okay, and just take both of them and just drag and drop it on the shelf, and it'll generate a button out of it. So what you can do is next time, if you want, just click on that Octane setup button and it'll create, all of it for you. And then I can hit IPR and it'll just, it'll use that for rendering. So you'll get the same result, except it'll be faster. I also added in a few more things in there for setting up HDR, but yeah, like this, if you set it up once, then you can just make a button out of it and then just reuse it. Okay, but if you don't want to do this, okay, there is something else that you get and it's free. So what you want to do is come into Google and do a search for Octane Quick Setup Houdini. Okay, and what you'll get is Carlo Jongen. I can't pronounce that. Okay, he created this Octane Quick Setup, which is now like there's a free version available and there is another version available through Origami Digital, which is part of the OD Houdini shelf tools. Now these are genuinely very nice because they give you like a ton of stuff. So if you're using Houdini for production work, any kind of production work, I think you should definitely look into this because it gives you like a ton of tools. And the Octane Quick Setup is part of this, but it's available for free from here. Okay, so you can sort of download it separately and you can use it. Okay, so all you need to do is once you download it, come to Houdini 18.5, the OTL folder, and just copy paste it in there. Like that's pretty much it. So what that does is I can get rid of this, and if you just type in Octane, you'll get something called as Octane Quick Setup. And this takes care of like all of the issues that you are generally getting, because this is like a full digital asset that gives you everything ready made in here, and it's really nice. Okay, so what you can do is you just need to do a couple of things, which is default it overrides the camera resolution to 1920x1080, so I usually turn that off, and come to Octane RT where like majority of your settings are. So keep the camera type to thin lens and the kernel will go to path tracing, and then come to RT path tracing, which is the parameters for it, and turn on show more path tracing settings. Now the only issue that happens with Octane is that the default settings are way too high. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to keep all of these at 4, like the depth, specular, and diffuse. I'll get the filter size down to 1. It gives you a sharper image, but it's not good for animation. Like if you're doing animation, keep it to 1.2. But yeah, if you want like sharper, then keep the filter size to 1. And then get the GI clamp to about 5. So make sure you make these modifications. Otherwise what happens is the diffuse depth is too high. So it takes, there's more noise. The GI clamp is like at what level it'll clamp the light. Okay, so if it's too high, you start getting fireflies. Okay, so just make sure that the GI clamp is low. Okay, all of these things will sort of help the render get faster. The rest of it you don't need to touch. Okay, so just make sure you modify these. Okay, and then what it also does with the Octane Quick Setup is in the environment you get like 5 HDR options. Okay, and it can switch between those in real time. So it gives you much more flexibility. Like if you want to take an HDR, then you want to switch to another one, or just test between 2-3 HDRs, then you can do that. So what I can do is if I hit IPR, and there you go, you get the same result. So if I come to the HDR, and let's say if I pick up, like my sunlight HDR, and then I'll come to HDR-B, and I'll pick up that studio HDR. So what I can do is I can come to the environment here, and change it to HDR-A, and there you go. And then you can rotate it around. Because the thing is, Octane doesn't have an option for a dome light. So the dome light has to be brought in from the environment. Okay, it's fast, but yeah, there's no physical dome light. Or then if I want to go to HDR-B, then you can go to HDR-B. And you also have options for like you can adjust gamma. Okay, and we can sort of like lower the power of this. Okay, and let's spin it around. Okay, so you can do stuff like this, which makes life a lot easier. If you want to change the background, like if I look at it from the camera standpoint. Okay, so we're seeing the HDR in the background right now. So if you don't want to see it, down here it says background environment. You can change it to color, and there you go. Okay, so you can just change it to like a standard color if you want. Yeah, so I'll just go back to HDR-A and a little bit of gamma. Okay, so this is like you have two different ways to set it up, but since the Octane quick setup is free, you can just download it and use it. It will make your life a lot easier, okay, if you're working with Octane, because then it's just a one button setup, right? Just take the Octane quick setup and you're done. You don't need to do anything else. Okay, okay, so let me just first, add another light in here. Like we'll add an area light. So again, Octane is a little too physically accurate, so it doesn't have a concept of light. Okay, what you usually do is you take any object and you apply an emission material to it, and it just uses that. Okay, but you do get, like the plugin developer has given a few lights, but there are a new set of lights that are available in Octane called Spectron. Okay, like the name doesn't mean anything, but they're trying to build like lights that sample a lot better or clean up a lot faster, even though the standard emission material cleans up pretty fast, because since Octane has always had mesh lights, it deals with it quite well. But what you can do is you can take a standard Octane light, which is fine, and let me just, I'll place it here and we'll rotate it. Yeah, let's hit IPR, and there you go. Okay, so let me just do one thing. I'll come to the quick setup and I'll lower the intensity. Yeah, so you have your basic light, and one of the cool things about this is essentially a digital asset that's been built by the plugin developer. Okay. So what you get is you get different types. So you have a quad, you have a circle. Okay. You can decide the number of divisions on the circle. Let me just zoom out a bit. You can have a sphere. If it doesn't update, hit reload. Okay. You can have a torus. Okay, sorry. For it to update, you need to select it. Yeah, keep it selected, then it updates. I don't know why, but it works like that. Okay. And you can have a torus. And you can see that it cleans up relatively quickly. Like it doesn't take too long to render. And in case someone is wondering what card I am using, I am currently on a 1080 Ti. Like I have two cards, but for this particular demo, I'm just using a 1080 Ti. Yeah, so you have a torus and you have a tube and you have a spotlight. Okay, so a spotlight is basically just a cone. But yeah, okay, let's do one. Let's keep it to circle for now. And then if you come to shader, you have like basic options. You can have it black body or you can have a texture. Okay. And in black body, you can define like the temperature of it. And we can lower the, the emission amount. You can also scale it up. Like if you come into transform, you want to adjust the size of it, you can just scale it up. So texture emission generally gets a little too bright, so we can probably bring it down to just about 5, which should be okay. Like I think 1 should be okay. Yeah. Okay, so like that's pretty much it, right? Like so you have your power, you have distribution, okay, which is like how much, and then you have like you have distribution, which is sort of like spread, but not really. And you have sampling rate. So if you have multiple lights and you want to control the sampling of a specific light, you can control it from here. And then you have other things like you have visible on diffuse, you have visible on specular. So you can control those things. You can, turn off cast shadows. You can make it double-sided. Okay, so you have a bunch of options. So yeah, so you have like this as an option, which is, there. And the other thing that you can use is, instead of using this light, you can use something called as a spectron light. Okay, so a spectron light is like what they're trying to do is build more standard lights the way there are in general softwares. Octane doesn't have anything like that, so this is like the first implementation of it. Don't go with volumetric spotlight, so keep it to quad or sphere. So if you keep it to sphere, and I'll just scale it down, this will clean up a lot faster than the standard light. So I'll just take the emission, or we'll take the light color and make it brighter. And just to show you the difference between, like first of all, you'll notice like it's a perfect sphere. You don't need to set any segments or anything to it. The Octane light is essentially, as I said, it's just an HDA and there are like pieces of geometry in there. So a sphere is actually just a polygon sphere. Okay, now if I take the quick setup and I'll lower the power a fair bit. And what we'll do is I'll take the path tracing and bring it down to just 20 samples. And yeah, let me just adjust this a bit. Okay, let me just do a snapshot of this. So you can click here on snapshot and it'll make a snapshot. And what I'll do is I'll just replace this. Yeah, it's looking overly bright because it's using ACES. So I'll just turn that off. And I'll replace that with a standard Octane light. I'll turn this off and parent it here. And I'll change this to a sphere. And if I hit IPR, you can immediately see the difference. Okay, like you can see how long that takes to, like how much noise that has. Okay, and also like because there isn't enough samples, you're not getting enough light either. And this one cleans up a lot faster. So they both are 20 samples, but you can see like the difference is sort of, night and day. So to whatever extent possible, use the Spectron, Quad and Sphere light. They'll give you much better results. Their idea is to eventually have like a whole list of lights like you get in standard softwares. But yeah, for now you have two, but they are useful enough. Okay, I'll just go back and turn up the samples. One of the nice things about Octane is it is really responsive. Like if you change samples, it updates automatically. You don't need to restart the render or anything. And also when it comes to like just IPR responsiveness, it's pretty fast, right? Like if I start to move this around, you'll notice like, see, it's pretty much real time. It doesn't do SOP level changes. So if I make SOP level changes, it doesn't update those. It kind of updates. I'll show you towards the end of this video how it works. Okay, so let me bring back the environment and I'll lower the Spectron light. I'll make it about 30. Okay, now let's talk about materials. Let me just, I'll come to the base. I don't want any reflection on the base, so I'll just get rid of the specular. Okay, and we'll come to the model. Now, the universal material is sort of like the Arnold standard shader. Okay, so you can do a majority of stuff, in this one shader. So you have your basic color, you have metalness. Okay, so we can make it metallic. You have your different BSDF models. Okay, you have roughness. Okay, you have basic IOR for reflectivity. Okay, you can let's just make it metallic for a second. You can do anisotropy, okay, and you can do rotation. Okay, the one thing is for anisotropy, you can't keep the BSDF on Octane. It doesn't work. Like it has to be on GGX. Okay, and then I can sort of do roughness and see. So I can like, give it rotation or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so you can do that. And coming down, you have the option for coating. So you can add like a secondary layer of reflection on top of this. You have options for sheen, which again, like if you're from Arnold or anything else, sheen is a pretty common option nowadays. Okay, so sheen just adds like a secondary layer around the edges. Okay, let me just change this color to something better. I'll get rid of reflection temporarily. And if you increase the roughness, see, there you go. So let's change this to, yeah, there you go. Sheen, as I said, is good for doing like cloth and stuff like that, or velvet, like it's really good for those things. Okay, so this is your basic. And then if you want to do glass, then you need to, let me just bring the specular back. So if you want to do glass, you have to connect something into transmission. Okay, like the default, there's nothing connected. So just take a color. So we can take a color RGB and connect it to transmission, and there you go, you get glass. Now it's looking a little dark right now because we don't have enough depth, like enough ray depth. So come back to the Octane quick setup come to path tracing, and I can take the specular depth to 10, and there you go. As I said, like Octane is extremely physically accurate, so some values have to be kept pretty high for you to get, you know, good results. Okay, and then like you can change color or whatever with this. We can give it roughness, you know, so all of that stuff is pretty basic. If you want to give it thickness, or you want to give it like absorption, then just type in medium and you'll get medium absorption, and you'll find a node called absorption. So you can click it in there, set the color to whatever, and adjust the density. So there you go. Okay, and you can also give it dispersion if you want. So there you go. So now you have dispersion. So overall the results are nice. Like once you know what you're doing, it's not very complex to set up. Okay, if you want to do subsurface scattering, then you can type in random walk, and we can connect that again to medium, and there you go. Okay, let me just lower the IOR a little bit. Okay, so I can take the albedo to whatever I want. Let's make it slightly, okay, and then we can adjust the density. And the one thing you want to do is come into your material and turn on fake shadows. That will, you know, allow the light to pass through. So that is very important. Just remember that. And there you go. Okay, so you get your basic subsurface scatter. You can adjust the radius to what you want. And if you increase bias, it adds like a little bit of diffuse contribution into it. Okay, so it looks a little more diffuse rather than being like completely sort of subsurface scattering. Okay, so you can sort of, you know, make those adjustments. And then give it a little bit of roughness. Like this is too shiny, so we'll give it a little bit of roughness. But there you go. Okay, so that is as far as, you know, your basic material setup is concerned. Let me just go back to it being diffuse. Okay, now let's take a look at the imager, because the imager is quite useful. Okay, so if you come into your quick setup, you'll find something called imager. So just turn on the enable more imager settings. You can control the exposure, like that's one thing you can do, you know, right away. And then in the imager settings, you have a lot of options. Like you can do like highlight compression. You have like inbuilt response curves, so you can kind of, you know, play around with those. They're good enough for doing like different lookup tables. It's nice, you know, you can do some fancy things with it. Usually I keep it to like Optima 200. Okay, if I don't care about it being on sRGB, but the default is sRGB, so you can keep it there. If you're going to do like composite work or something, if you're just doing an artwork, you can use this to do, you know, like nice enough lookup tables and just work with that. So you can like, some of them will do like a fair bit of coloring on top. If you want the response to be neutral, you can just click this. So it removes like the additional color tone it's putting on top. Okay, like if you look at some of these other ones, like let's say if I take Ektachrome, okay, see, so you can sort of, you know, adjust the response. You might have to adjust the exposure as well. Like let's make it 0.5. There you go. Okay. Ooh, that looks really colorful. Okay, and then you have other things like you can adjust gamma. Okay, and you can adjust, you know, vignetting. You can adjust the saturation. And let's go back to something, you know, like normal. You can also load up a custom lookup table, but I don't have any right now, but you can, you know, you can do that. And yeah, the rest is not important, you know, at the moment. Okay, so this is as far as, you know, the basic stuff is concerned. So now let's take a look at attributes. Okay, so I'll close this. And what I'll do is, I'll just add a curvature node here like I've been doing before. Like I'm kind of assuming you've seen the previous videos that I've done, but if you haven't, it's fine. Okay, like I'm just going to measure curvature for, you know, generating some kind of an attribute. I'll get this up to 30. Okay, and then we'll turn off visualize color. Now what you need to do is make sure you have the Octane object properties. If they're not there, then you can add them from here, like you have object parameters. Okay, and then come into attributes, and these are float attributes. Okay, like if you middle click here or click on the eye, you'll see like these both are float attributes. So click on that and then come to point float attributes, and you can pick up concavity and convexity. If you want to pick up color, then it should be in the vector attribute. Okay, now let's come into the material editor, and I'll just do Control C, Control V, call it attribute. And what you want to do is just take type in float. It'll get something called float vertex attribute, and I can type in concavity and do Control C, Control V. This will be convexity, VEX, and just assign this over here. Okay, let's set IPR and see what we're getting. Okay, so this is fine. So if I plug this in, it shows up. There you go. So concave and convex. Okay, and then I can just like let's take an add, and we can add these together, and then take a gradient. Yeah, so take a tool gradient, and we can plug this in. I'll plug that into albedo and do something similar. Yeah, so this and then this should be gray, but you know, a little bit like that. And then do Control C, Control V, and this comes into, for metallic, like this will be white and this will be black. So the yellow stuff will become metal, and then the gray will remain diffuse, and then that comes into metallic. If it doesn't update, just disconnect it and reconnect it, like it has that issue with it. Okay. And then lastly, I want the same thing for roughness. So Control C, Control V, and the metal area will be shiny and the diffuse area will be rough, and I can plug that into roughness. And if I come back to my model, if I make changes here, it's not going to update. But what you can do is, we can, like, you have a couple of options, but let me just blur this a little bit, and we can hit reload, and there you go. So you can do that. Okay, so this is as far as, you know, your basic attribute stuff is concerned. When it comes to instancing, Octane can't pick up attributes from instances. Okay, like that's still a limitation it has, but there is a workaround for it. So what you can do is, the first thing is, if you're doing packed primitives, make sure that in the Octane properties, turn on this button which says packed geo instancing. Now what I'll do is, I'll come into materials, I'll make a copy of this. Let's call it instance. And what you can do is, there is type in instance, and you get something called texture instance color, and you get a custom map with the Octane setup. Like, this has been built by the developer. So what I'll do is, I'll come to my Octane setup, and there'll be a folder called text. Okay, so go in there and look for the RGB 4K map.ppm. Okay, so just take that and plug it into albedo. That's pretty much it. So just take this and assign it here. Now it might cause me issues because there's like a 3D Elite tab over here, and 3D Elite is not currently installed on this. Like, it was, but I removed it. So it might cause some conflicts, but let me hit IPR. Yeah, there you go, just close that. But there you go, see, so now it works. Okay, so yeah, so you have like, you can't directly pick up instance attributes, but this works. It should be, they've improved it a fair bit, like Octane has improved a fair bit. This is one of the last set of restrictions or limit, like, you know, features that still isn't available. Hopefully by next version, we might have it. Okay, last thing is particles. So I have this guy here, and again, I'm going to duplicate this. We'll call it particles. It supports attributes for geometry, particles and curves. What it doesn't support attributes for is instances and volume. So you can't have like volume color. So I'll just take another color vertex attribute because I want to pick up the color attribute here. We'll type in CD and I will plug it in over there, and we will assign it to my particles. And what you need to do is come into the Octane setting, okay, and you need to do two things. Firstly, pick up the attribute. So come into point vector attributes and we'll pick up CD, and then come into particles and turn it on. Okay, now the size it will pick up from the P scale, so you don't need, so these will be overridden, but you have to make sure that you turn on render as sphere particles. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you hit IPR, it'll work. Okay, so now what you can also do is if I come in here and if I make some changes, like let's say if I take the attribute adjust float and I'll change it to noise. And what I can do is I can move forward a single frame. There you go, like that updates it. And I'll do the same thing here for the P scale. I'll set that to noise as well. We'll go back a frame. And what I'll do is I'll also come down to animation and just turn it on for both of them. Yeah. Now if I press play, see it'll update, in the viewport. So it updates animations. It can't update a single frame, which is weird, but it updates animations. If for particles you don't need to do this, but for anything else, if you're trying to update the animation, turn on full reload. Okay, like that is important. Okay. That is also important for rendering out animations. Okay, so just as a final tip, if you're rendering out animations, make sure that in the render settings, okay, if you come to the advanced settings render mode, the default is just kept to update scene. Okay, don't keep it to update scene, keep it to full scene reload. Because what update scene does is it only looks at object level movement. It doesn't look at SOPs. Okay, so anything happening inside a SOP will not get updated. So when you're doing a standard render in Octane, make sure you keep it to full scene reload. Okay, I completely forgot to talk about the installation process, right? Like I've done that for everything else. Okay, so once you've purchased it, come to the Octane forum, like render.otoy.com/forum, and go to the Houdini tab in the plugin section, and you'll get like the latest releases here. Okay, so this is the latest release and you can just download it from there. Okay, and once you download it, copy it to any folder that you want. Okay, so I have it here. Yeah, I have it copied here. Okay, and then what you want to do is in the Houdini 18.5, go into your packages and create a Octane JSON and just type in this. So it's just pointing to, wherever Octane is installed. That's pretty much it. Okay, and that'll set it up for you. But as I said, like get the Octane quick setup. Like without that, it's not difficult, but it just becomes a slightly longer process. With Octane quick setup, it makes it, 100 times simpler. Okay. And if you like the Octane quick setup, make sure you take a look at the, the OD tools, because, those are really useful. Okay. Like they give you a ton of things. Like I won't read through this, but it gives you like, it's not just for Octane, it's for Redshift and it's also for V-Ray. It does automatic material conversions when you import FBX files. It does like a whole bunch of things. So yeah, definitely take a look at this. Okay, that's pretty much it. So the next set of lessons for these render engines, I haven't decided yet. I might do volumes, or I might just go through like a material setup. Okay, like I'll see what works, but yeah, either one of those. Okay, and then I'll probably look at something more specific like hair rendering, or curve rendering, something like that. Okay, so that's pretty much it.